On this episode of the Carolina Sports Guy, we're looking at Thursday and Friday night's games, folks, in major college sports in North Carolina. 3 games on tap, 1 Thursday, 2 Friday. Before getting to today's content, make sure you're subscribed. It doesn't cost anything. Hit that bell notification, be notified of future videos like these. Pound that like button. And as always, folks, leave some comments. I sure do love the dialogue and the back and forth banner. All right, folks, I could have combined all the excuse me. I could have combined all the games Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and I just thought I'd go ahead and concentrate Thursday and Friday, knock those games out of the way, the 3 games that were on tap, and just kind of leave the other 6 games with the 7 teams involved on Saturday for video alone. And I decided to also do it because I wanted to break down the schedule of these teams, because these 3 teams in the Carolinas are really doing well. I'm going to kind of look to see if they can continue that. So the first game we had, and it was a Thursday night game, and I caught glimpses of it, but I was following my Panthers. So only during commercials or like when there was a couple of down plays, and I'd turn it back and forth. And it was Marshall at Appalachian State. You know, Marshall was coming off that gut-wrenching loss they had to East Carolina at home the week before. Appalachian State, of course, had bounced back with a win. And going to the game, Appalachian State was 2-1. Now, Appalachian State was favored by the prognosticators, -7 to -7.5 points. I had them for a 28-24 win. I thought that Marshall, coming off that loss, that Appalachian State would win, but I thought Marshall would keep it very close, which is exactly what happened, folks. Appalachian State ends up coming from behind and winning this game 31-30. Now, I heard a little bit of controversy. The bookies were a little upset because Appalachian State took a knee at the goal line, and it could have given them an 8-point win, and that would have favored the money those who chose Appalachian State. So they were a little disappointed they took the knee, but that happens. It is a game. Sometimes in sportsmanship, hey, what happens if you score and the extra points botched, and Marshall returns the kickoff back and goes for 2 and win? Anything's possible, folks. So anyway, I wanted to kind of look at this because Appalachian State's 3-1. Their next game's at Georgia State. Could be a win for them. Then they got at Louisiana, and this is where it's going to get tough because Louisiana is a very good team. The following week after that, and I think that's on a Tuesday night, then the following week after that, they've got to play Coastal Carolina at home. So these next 3 games, Georgia State, at Louisiana in particular, and then hosting Coastal Carolina, is going to make or break the season. If Appalachian State can win those 3 games and go 6-1, they got Louisiana Monroe at Arkansas State, South Alabama at Troy, and then Georgia Southern home to finish the season. How they do, particularly in 2 and 3 weeks from now, is going to really depend on their season. Are they going to be 11-1? Are they going to drop one of these games like the Coastal or maybe Louisiana and go 10-2? Hey, they could even lose 2 of those 3 games, the next 3 games, and go 9-3. Got to wait and see what happens. But I feel Appalachian State's on the uptick, and I really got my eyes. A lot of people do have it on the Coastal Carolina game, but you got to look at the Louisiana game, folks, because they have lost a game, but they still have a lot of talent. All right, moving on. Friday night's game. We had Middle Tennessee State playing at Charlotte. Now, I had Charlotte winning this game 21-16. The odds makers had Charlotte by 2.5, which kind of means they were home, so you're giving a 0.5 point to Middle Tennessee if it was on a neutral site. But more or less, they're saying if you chose Charlotte, they had to win by 3. And I had a 21-16 point win for Charlotte. I said they would cover the spread, which they did. They come back and they win this game 42-39 by 3. Higher scoring game than I thought. Now, Charlotte's 3-1. And now Charlotte's had an impressive win over Duke. They did lose at Georgia State. And the thing is, they're doing really well at home. And this week coming up, folks, they've got to play at Illinois. And Illinois is only 1-3. If they could win that game, that would be a very big win to win a game against a Big Ten opponent. But remember, the Big Ten's recruiting is a lot better. Charlotte hasn't played well on the road. I don't know if they can beat Illinois or not. Then they got Florida International. They've got Florida Atlantic. They got at Western Kentucky, which is always going to be tough. They've got Rice at home. They get Louisiana Tech. They've got Marshall at home. That's going to be a tough game. And then they finished the season with a down Old Dominion team at home. Now, do I think Charlotte will finish as good at Appalachian State? No. Even though in two different conferences, I think Charlotte's probably going to hit a couple snags at Western Kentucky, probably playing Marshall at home, and definitely at the Illinois game. Even though Illinois doesn't have a good record, it is still a Big Ten school. So Charlotte keeps it going, though. If they can win 3 or 4 more of these games like they're supposed to do, they're going to be bowl eligible. That's still going to be very good for a young Charlotte team. All right, finally, folks, we're going to get to the big game that was Thursday night. And Wake Forest has looked really good. Went into the game 3-0, playing a 2-1 Virginia who had lost to a highly ranked North Carolina squad. I said Wake was going to win 28-20. The bookies had Virginia down as a 4-point favorite. It was at Virginia. So you're basically saying if the game was played on the moon, Virginia would be favored by 1. Well, here you go. People not respecting Wake Forest again. I did this week, respected them, so they did win by 8. But folks, not only did they win by 8, they won by 20 points going away. And, you got to look at this. Sam Hartman, the quarterback, he didn't have the yards that Virginia's quarterback did, but he did throw for 3 touchdown passes. He was 17-29 for 270 yards. Wake Forest scored on the first 7 possessions of this game, folks. You got to really look at this for a minute. They scored every possession they had the ball in the first half. Third quarter, they scored in every possession of the third quarter. And they scored in their first possession of the fourth quarter. So imagine that, folks. If your team's playing a game, first quarter, you get the ball 2-3 times, you score. Second quarter, you get the ball 2-3 times, you score. Third quarter, you get the ball, once or twice or whatever. Between the 3 quarters, they had the ball 6 times. So you might as well say 2 per quarter. They score every time. And they get their first possession in the fourth quarter, and they score. They kick a field goal. They did not score their last 3 possessions. But you got to look at it. They punted 3 times, all 3 and out. But they were running the ball. They were running the clock out. They had a comfortable lead. And it really helped that the first time that they had a 3 and out to run the ball to kill some clock, Virginia fumbles the ball. The next time they go ahead, run it 3 more times, 3 and out. Virginia gets the ball again, intercepted. And then, of course, they do a 3 and out. Virginia gets the ball. They drove the length of the field, 90-some yards, and the clock ended on them. So, very impressive because Wake Forest probably could have scored again. And they chose, to run the game out, the clock out, and do well in that deal. But just got to really look at this, man. Wake Forest is really cooking it. They're 4-0. How impressive can they be? Now, they're going to play Louisville at home this week. They've always struggled against Louisville, but Louisville's a little down. I think Wake Forest can win. Then they're going on the road at Syracuse, and then at an undefeated Army, if Army's still undefeated by then. Then they're home to Duke. Then they go to Carolina, and that's going to be a tough game. And then they've got NC State at home, which will be another tough one. And they're finishing out at Clemson and at Boston College. Now, you got to look at their next 6 games, folks. They're either in the state of North Carolina, playing Louisville at home, playing Duke at home, playing NC State at home, playing UNC at Chapel Hill, or they're playing in the state of New York, playing Syracuse in New York, playing Army in New York. And then until they get at Clemson, and then playing at Boston College. So they're staying on the Eastern Seaboard. It's going to be interesting to see how well they do, because if they can win a game against Louisville here and go on the road in these 2 New York games and win, when they get to Carolina State, those are going to be big games for them. I don't imagine they can beat at Clemson, but they played Clemson close in the past before. We could be looking at a team here, folks, especially if they win these next 3 or 4 games like they're supposed to win. Not only going to be bowl eligible, they're going to be in a very good bowl. And I just think Wake Forest, 37-17 wins, pretty impressive. That is a school that really does more with less than any other school that I know of. They do a really good job, and my hat's off to them. So, folks, what do you think of today's video? Do you think all 3 of these teams, being a 3-1, 3-1, and a 4-0, do you think they're all going to be bowl eligible? Which one of these 3 teams do you think going the furthest? Which one of these teams do you think might struggle going down the road? I think it's going to be Charlotte struggling. And I'm going to go out and say Appalachian State here. Is going to have the best record of these teams, but can't really overlook Wake, folks. They're doing well. Leave me some comments, pound that like button, hit that bell notification, be notified of future videos like these, and by all means, folks, subscribe. It doesn't cost anything. We'll see you on another episode. Carolina Sports Guy.